Ladies and gentlemen, you have to ask yourself one question. Why on earth isn't Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu in prison yet? Not because they're racist twats, because they stole money from, poor grandmothers around the country. And the reason why we say this is because last week, SARS finally liquidated a company of Floyd Shivambu's brother called Brian Shivambu, and this company was basically used as a slush fund for the EFF and especially for Floyd Shivambu himself. If you were the president of a country, say like South Africa, and as the president of that particular country, you really hated a particular member of the opposition party, namely, Julius Malema, wouldn't you use every single resource that you have to put him behind bars so he doesn't become a problem ever again? So, for example, in this particular case, the EFF stole millions of rands from VBS Bank, and the bank card attached to the bank account in which that money was paid was used to pay for, Floyd's cars and his, kids' school fees and his wedding, and a lot of it flowed to the EFF, a lot of it flowed to Julius Malema himself, and essentially SARS, after years and years and years, finally say, oh, listen, this company owned by Brian Shivambu, Floyd's brother, owes SARS 11 million rand. And the company says, oh, sorry, we can't pay. So now SARS has liquidated it 5-6 years after the fact. Where's the MPA? Where's the SIU? Where's everyone else? Where's the Hawks? Right? Because we know for a fact Cyril hates Julius Malema. If Julius Malema disappears tomorrow, it makes Cyril much stronger for his so-called reform program in the ANC. Not that it actually exists, but just think for a minute. If Julius Malema wasn't around because he actually went to jail for a legitimate crime that he perpetuated, Cyril would be much stronger, the RT faction would no longer exist, there would be shutdowns all over the place, and most importantly, no one in the ANC would want to oust Cyril Ramaphosa to make a deal with the EFF. But because Cyril is such a spineless twat, and Malema is still running around like he owns the country, Cyril finds himself in a position where he's far weaker because Julius Malema is still around. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The really funny and interesting thing about Juju, this guy doesn't exactly not step on landmines. He's constantly in the news for doing something stupid. And I know that all the EFF people who support him in our comment section will all be like, hey, the EFF is giving you chest pains. The EFF don't give me no fucking chest pains. The EFF are a bunch of retards. But at the end of the day, what gives people chest pains is the mere fact that the law, which is meant to be equal in South Africa, is never equal. It's never applied uniformly to all the people in the land. And when it comes to Julius, we see that more often than not. I'll tell you what also doesn't make any sense is that Cyril's apparently pro-business, right? He understands that business is required to get people back to work. Toyota said they're going to be shutting down their factory on Monday because they said we are worried for the safety of our workers and we don't want our plant being burnt down. So because of that, Toyota's taking the decision to shut the factory down on that day, which will obviously result in loss of productivity. This obviously also hampers service delivery in the country because yet again, it's another firm that will be saying we're going to now be behind on schedules, we're beholden to the politics of the country. It doesn't really look good for the investment, does it? So for a president who supposedly understands, the ANC is there to create an environment which businesses can thrive and people can get employed, he's not really doing much to curb the anti-business sentiment, is he? Overall, he's just a fucking useless moron. And it all comes back to the same guy, Juju, which if he was in the pockets of business, which you can make this point, if he was in the pockets of business, he'd be doing something about it. If he was in the pockets of even the ANC, he'd be doing something about it.
Let's look at what are the downsides for Cyril Ramaphosa if Julius goes to prison for a real crime he committed. He's going to get much more public support for anything he wants because people really hate Julius Malema. Number two, the RT faction in the ANC is dead. It always has been dead, in our opinion, but it will be dead for certain. Number three, the EFF disappears as a real threat to Ramaphosa's power. And overall, not just in terms of politics, but when you are the president or the leader of a country, you want to ensure that your way goes, right? You don't want these little upstart millennial parties to come up there and call you to your face, which is what the EFF does to Cyril all the time. So there is really no downside to Julius going to prison for real crimes, but Cyril sort of just refuses to do anything. SARS has finally caught up with this particular company, but the MPA, which Cyril runs, Intelligence, which Cyril runs, the Hawks, which Cyril runs, the SIU, which Cyril runs, they've done nothing. They have done nothing whatsoever to jail Julius Malema. Hell, if Julius Malema goes to jail, I will vote for Cyril in the next fucking election. How about that? Because he's a far greater threat than anything the ANC comes up with.
Yeah, I'll actually reiterate that. If Juju goes to jail, I'll vote for the ANC. I'll make sure my entire family vote for the ANC. How's that?
So, ladies and gentlemen, today is National Shutdown Day. Let us know what you think of Julius Malema down in the comments down below. And more importantly, should there even be something called the EFF in South Africa? Because as far as we can understand, every single aspect of that leadership of that party has committed criminal acts. And the fact that they're not in prison, it shows very weak leadership on behalf of Cyril, or that, as always, South Africa is just another little mafia African state. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next one. Cheers.